If you look at if you examine the history of capital punishment in this country, what you will, over its history, what you will instantly see, even the briefest examination will reveal, is that our attitudes towards it have changed remarkably in the past 200 years. There was a time when people were executed for a variety of crimes, including, for example, horse stealing. That was a capital crime at one point in our country. The standards of proof were not nearly as rigorous as they are today. Representation for the accused prior to Miranda was actually not even required and was therefore less common. Appeals more limited, convictions easier to get, and therefore executions far more swift to arrive. Today, even though capital punishment remains legal in 35 of our 50 states, it is clear that attitudes have changed. It's enormously expensive, as has been, in fact, I believe we heard. The difference is about $1 million to prosecute a capital crime versus a murder case in which capital punishment is not on the docket, is not on the table. The reason for this is because a whole layer, in fact, a layer upon layer of appeals have been added into the whole process in order to increase the possibility that we will not actually execute an innocent person. And that concern, as we've also heard in that initial statement, is well-founded. The scope of capital crimes has also, over the course of this country's life, become much more reduced. Today, the only thing you really can be executed for is murder. And even in premeditated murder, in many states, there must be what is termed an aggravating circumstance. And those aggravating circumstances are defined in various ways. But it's not even enough anymore to kill someone in cold blood. You have to do it in a certain way. We've also seen that the notion of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, is an increasingly unsatisfactory justification for the death penalty when it is used as a standalone reason for executing people. There are important reasons for this, obviously. Murder is a terrible thing. It affects, again, as Sister Marianne said, it affects not just the person who's killed, it affects the family of the person who's killed as well. Those who argue for the death penalty today, who are mindful that revenge, the motive of getting even, revenge, sounds crude. It sounds brutal. Have attempted to instill a kind of a pastoral, if I can use that term in this context, a kind of pastoral dimension to their arguments by talking not just about the victim, but also about the people who love the victim. The death penalty, we are now hearing, provides a sense of closure for them. The death penalty provides a sense of justice for them. The death penalty provides a sense of completeness for them. That justification is brand new in the history of capital punishment. It's a function of the increasing amount of dis-ease we are feeling about state-sponsored killing of people. First of all, notice what that kind of justification does. It's all about the family. Notice what it does. It means, most simply put, that there are now two victims of this crime. The first one, of course, is the one who got murdered. But second is the family member who was turned by the state into a justification for killing somebody else. Some people are perfectly okay with that, but many are not. What all this suggests is that even though there are plenty of people in this country who continue to support the death penalty, as a society, we are increasingly ambivalent about it. We really don't know how we feel anymore. There was no other good way to explain the vast layers of appeal with their immense expense. There was no other way to explain the concern with killing innocent people. There's no other way to explain the novel justifications for the actually quite wonderful statement. So this ambivalence here in the United States and abroad is to me a most hopeful sign. It means we are having an increasingly difficult time dehumanizing people, even people who kill people. We're having a harder and harder time doing that. We are beginning to recognize that even the most distorted and disturbed human being is still a human being. We are admitting to ourselves that the desire for revenge, though completely natural, especially in the heat of the moment, is not, and never can be, a sufficient motive to kill someone in cold blood. We are agreeing that the possibility of making mistakes where people's lives are at stake is indeed a matter of the utmost importance. And frankly, that's the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world where we do indeed take away the rights of people who abuse the rights of others, particularly in this most dramatic fashion. But I also want to live in a world where we refuse to take away their humanity. I want to live in a world where the limitations of human insight are acknowledged in practical and not just theoretical terms. I want to live in a world where revenge is not considered to be a reason to add death to death. I want to live in that world. I want to live in a world that believes that breaking the cycle of violence is a shorter path to justice than perpetuating the cycle of violence. I want to live in that world. And so it remains my hope that sooner or later, the ambivalence we as a society are now clearly demonstrating about the death penalty will at last overcome the support for it. And we as a people will take one more step toward a world that doesn't just claim to want peace, but truly works for it. Thank you.